Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. With me tonight, Billy Beeman and Jake Cornblum. What's going on, guys?
Much. I'm sick again. Nothing new here, but week one was super awesome. Really, really happy to be back with you guys and chop it up a little bit about some football, man. Really, really fun time. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing well. I think we should rename the show Dynasty Never Running on Time.
Yeah, we do
close.
not. We've rarely hit our Tuesday mark or our 8 p.m. mark in quite a while. So yeah, it's a good show.
We're 24 hours and 4 minutes late is the way I'm looking at it. No, but I'm just glad to see that you're doing better. Sorry that you're always sick. These are the trials and tribulations of being a parent, I guess, which is why I could never be a parent because my immune system sucks without a child. So I can't imagine what it would be like with a child. But anyway, how are you doing, Uriah?
I'm doing good, man. Like I was telling Billy earlier, I got a new rug for my office here, so it's really tying the room together, and yeah, couldn't be better.
This is just like a massive photo of Dak Prescott, like embedded into tapestry.
No, that'd be sweet, but no, it's just some pattern that matches the 17 pillows on the whatever.
No, good. It's the feng shui. There we go.
Yeah, and maybe helps with like the echo in here a little bit. So.
Feng shui. Okay, there you go.
Let's
some padding. Oh my god.
So let's hop into some news, some nonsense. We've got a public service announcement here by none other than Heath Cummings. I believe CBS Fantasy Pod, Dynasty Pod. Good guy. Anyways, it's a story about something he had to go through, and we could talk about it a little bit. He said, I considered kicking someone out of Dynasty League in the offseason for inactivity. Took the path of least resistance and asked if they still wanted to play, and I told them I had replacement options available. They said they were in, and I let it be. Week 1, they started 3 inactive players.
Solid.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, first thing I was like, well, did he pay his dues? If he paid his dues, then who cares, right? It's his team. But, it's sad. You can't really boot someone after week 1, can you?
I mean, I think you can, honestly. Okay. It depends. I mean, was this a Dynasty League? This was Dynasty specific?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think you can. It depends, though. If this is happening year after year, then yeah, I mean, I think at some point, I'm just thinking kind of to our own community, right? Like we had to replace a couple people who had been in the league for a while, and it wasn't something like that was easy to do or I wanted to do necessarily. It was just something that kind of had to be done, and honestly, I feel like the leagues have been so much better for it. Like they've been much more active, much less toxic in any kind of way. So I mean, it's a tough thing to do. I mean, I don't know if I would do it after week 1 necessarily, but I would definitely start scoping it out. Like, hey, bro, you started 3 inactive players. Does this person respond by week 2? That's one consideration. If they're not, then okay. If they're like, yo, life got the best of me, I'm in, and they go for the rest of it, then it's a different thing. But if it's a consistent thing, which is what it ended up being for us, and I would not make a decision like that lightly. But if it's a consistent enough thing and you're hearing, the league mates constantly complain about it, at some point something has to be done. And it's a kind of a cheesy way to say it, but yeah, for the integrity of the league, right? Like at some level it does have to be looked after.
Yeah, only thing I'll add, and one of the reasons I wanted to put this in here is, going the path of least resistance usually ends up biting you in the ass as a commissioner. And I do think that if I were Heath Cummings, to put them together, it's Keith. If I was Keith in this situation, I think I would have just nipped it in the bud immediately in the summer, basically right when start of off season hits. I've already had these issues with this person. Things didn't change throughout the season last year. Just call it quits. Hey, I'll give you back whatever your dues are. I'll find someone to cover your orphan, and we'll move it forward. I think you just put yourself in a really precarious situation right now in week 1, now needing to find an orphan manager. Maybe someone doesn't want to cover. Luckily, Heath has a pretty good coverage in the market because of, the span and people that he knows within the network. So I think like that won't be an issue for him in particular, but I think for any other smaller commissions out there, I think it's really important to nip this shit in the bud, do it in the off season, make sure you give yourself ample time, whether that's maybe a month after the championship or whatever it might be, give yourself some time off. But that's kind of how I set up my leagues is I give myself about 30 to 45 days. I reset the league on sleeper, and then it's basically go time. I make sure that all my dues are in place. I make sure that if I need to talk to anybody about the shit that they're doing in the league, those conversations are had. If I have to talk about a rules change because someone had thrown that out during the season last year, we put it up to pull, whatever it might be. All the housekeeping stuff is done by basically end of February, start of March. And then I don't have to worry about much come the rookie draft in April or May. So, you know, this is just kind of like a small shout out. This is a shitty situation to be in. Try and prevent yourself from being in it.
I will say, always give dues back if you kick somebody. Like, don't keep those dues for any reason. You give that shit back, make it whole. You never have to hear from them again. And I would recommend the Indiana Jones switch, where you have somebody ready and you just pull out, put them in, boom, it's done. Right? Like you basically leave them there until you find somebody. Don't kick them out before you find somebody. Make sure you find, someone with them just about the same day. It's the easiest way to do it. And for Heath, it wouldn't have been a problem at all, obviously. But yeah,
Cool.
Good stuff.
Well, we just got done with week 1, which was awesome. Sunday was like just amazing. Just 7 hours of nearly commercial-free football. And honestly, the commercials didn't bother me one bit. So I don't care about that at all. As long as it stays like that and doesn't escalate to something more, as these bastards are always trying to squeeze every last penny out of us that they can, and they probably will try to do so. But for now, it's good. Are there any week 1 thoughts to mention out the gate? I'll be quick with this because I feel like this is maybe one of the first week 1s where I don't have a whole lot of thoughts like, oh, wow, like, this is, this usage was crazy, or this team, whatever. Miami sucks worse than I thought they would. I'm kind of worried about all the players on that team. Other than that, it's week 1. Everybody's rusty. Not every team had starters playing in the preseason, all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't really have much to say about week 1 other than it was fun watching.
Yeah, I'll hop in. I think like the biggest thing for me was just kind of piggybacking off of Uriah's point with regards to rustiness. I was really surprised that some offenses just weren't firing on basically any cylinders. Bengals offense was really, really painful to watch most of their drives against the Browns. And that isn't an insult to the Browns defense, but I just expected a little bit more. General connections in Philly fell off. That entire passing game was just peculiar. Lots of time for Jalen Hurts, not a lot of separation or availability from Devontae and AJ Brown. Really surprised to also see kind of CD in, like 3 weeks not ready for the season, basically, like just physically, mentally just didn't look like he was completely there just yet, but he looked great in terms of like his actual route running, just mentally just didn't feel like he was 100%. And then going into some of the like smaller games, I was really surprised by Spencer Rattler's performance. I really thought that he was just going to be an absolute dud, and he was serviceable, which I think is a little bit more than what we expected out of that offense in general. I'm not saying that I would ever start him in a dynasty lineup in Superflex or anything along those lines, but I did find that his performance was a little bit more promising than what I was naturally expecting. And then lastly, I think the Steelers-Jets game was maybe the most precarious or confusing. Did not expect Aaron Rodgers to perform at the level he did. And the same thing with Justin Fields. I think both looked significantly better than I was naturally expecting, both of which I have sat down and watched a little bit more. And I think that there's maybe a few more blemishes in their game than naturally what I saw from the onset, but still ridiculously more improved than what I was expecting going in. What about you, Billy?
I don't know if I'm even going to, if you guys are going to hear me because the internet is a little funky right now. So I apologize if that is the case. But I think coming out of this, like the main thing for me is like be careful how much you're judging, especially these second-year quarterbacks early in the season. I do think that everybody's getting a little bit over their heels in, just how they're reacting to kind of like Caleb Williams. Or, I mean, JJ McCarthy was done by halftime if you were on Twitter, right? So what you take out of week one. But we should probably just overreact to Emeka Buka and, the God tier level play that he put out there. I do think that was incredibly encouraging. And there's some people out there saying sell high on him. And I don't know if we've really seen the heights, man. Like, I honestly don't. I think that was just kind of step one. So just a couple things for me, not too much there, but yeah, just watch out. Don't get over your heels about those quarterbacks. Even for me, Drake May, I was probably ranting to Jake a little bit more than I should have been about his play. And after kind of, watching the rest of the week one play out, I was a little bit more encouraged, just like, all right, it's week one, let things settle in.
Perfect. All right. So quick question here. When you're setting up your lineups, do you use an optimizer or do you quote unquote raw dog it? Vibes, bud. I don't even know, besides probably outside of Fantasy Pros, where lineup optimizer would be. I should probably use one because I absolutely suck at starting sit. Like my benches are always crazy. It's probably because it's how I build my teams, but yeah, no, I go through and I look up matchups and boop, 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 boop. Do you guys use optimizers?
I think with me adding more leagues, it's become significantly more challenging, I think, on me mentally to make all of the start sit decisions. I will say that this week one was probably not a very good showing by optimizers, but I think it would have also been a really poor showing by me as well. So I always find that the start of the season is really tough when trying to understand matchups specifically. I don't think that I'm in a really good spot to necessarily understand exactly scheme from one to one. But I think that's kind of where I lie. I have always been vibes based, but I've lost too many championship games, I think, in the past few years to continue to go vibes based. So I'd rather blame someone else for my losses. Not my wins. My wins are all me. Anyway, really.
Yeah, exactly. I probably should use optimizers more or just follow like the projections because they're probably, especially for the top end players, I think the mid to lower players, it's like a crapshoot with that stuff, to be honest. And the optimizers probably do a good job, but there's something about kind of making the decision myself. And like, I do like kind of eating it. If it's me, it's like, at least I'm doing this thing. So that's probably the wrong way to look at it. I should probably use, the tools and advanced technology that we have in 2025.
What optimizers would you guys use?
This past week, I was using, I think it was last year, I used Fantasy Pros for the second half of the season. But this past week, I was just using the Dynasty Daddy one. And you can also manipulate it based off of the sources too, which is helpful if you think that there's a better source for projections versus another. But yeah, that's what I was using.
Cool. That's just for the people listening that might not know where to find a useful optimizer. All right. Yep. This is a good one. Post week one sells. We could have done buys too, but yeah, I do like this list. Let's start with the first one. Hollywood Brown. As a post week one sell, I get the concept behind that, but could you explain to me more why you put Hollywood Brown on the list, Jake?
Yeah, this actually initiated, and shout out to Lapisaurus, basically was asking about like who would be good sells based off their performance in week one. The big thing that I saw with Hollywood outside of just like the geriatric route running that he performed, unfortunately, it was just the majority of his yards received were on that basically like busted coverage play, where he was looking at very much like a Wan'Dale Robinson-esque 7 receptions for about 40 yards type performance. And a lot of that doesn't have much to do with the play calling, in my opinion. It has a lot to do with who he currently is as a professional athlete. And it just was not the type of performance I was expecting from him, given how long he's been out for. And so I think the box score plus the surrounding injuries kind of do him a little justice in the sense that you might be able to get off of him for a little bit more. But what I will openly state is that in about 60% of my leagues, he was listed on the trade block and has yet to be traded. So I don't think that he actually is a post week 1 sell, because I don't think the rest of the market believes it yet.
That's interesting. Yeah, you might have to go seek out like a good fit. I don't know if somebody's going to come after him, but I will agree with Jake. I think he might have lost some of his explosiveness, and that's kind of why you see them deploying him in the way they are, which is a little bit more short to mid. And I just think over time, like they're going to get guys healthy. Worthy's going to come back. Rice is going to come back, and he's going to kind of fall to the wayside a little bit here. This is what we wanted to buy him for late last season, or last season in general. We knew that his value would rise eventually, and this is what you've been waiting for. So, I mean, at this point, it may be a good idea to get off for 2/3. I'd be obviously seeking a second. Any second, I'll take it, and I'm gone. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Cool. Next one, Jalen Warren. Again, I'll just go with you, Jake. What are your reasons for adding him here?
Yeah, I actually don't feel that strongly about Jalen Warren, but what I will say is that he once again looks incredibly inefficient. I think that has a lot to do with the general offensive line. Not a single running back looked pretty good in that backfield. That being said, I know your boy Caleb Johnson didn't really get a lot of love this past week, so it was mainly Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren. This really does feel like one of those backfields, though, that will continue to churn into probably like everyone gets a third of the backfields, and that just doesn't feel like a successful situation for any running back from a fantasy output perspective. So for me, I would very much like to get off of him with the idea that he is the quote unquote starter, or the guy who's going to get targeted the most out of the backfield, when I just don't think that is necessarily the reality. I think he very much is the same running back that Arthur Smith saw him as last year with Najee Harris there. And I expect Caleb Johnson to probably have his role continue to ramp up over time as they think that he has a little bit better pass pro chops. Just can kind of adjust a little bit more to the offense.
Cool. How about you, Billy?
Yeah, I agree for the most part with what Jake said. I also if you're looking at just his fantasy score, you might be like, oh yeah, he's a lead back and whatnot. But I mean, he also might be the pseudo lead back, but just the way that they were using everybody, and if he didn't score a touchdown, he would have been highly disappointing. So I just think it's going to be a lot of inconsistency all year long. And I agree that the offensive line didn't look suited for the run game necessarily.
Cool. Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much all of that. Next one, QJ. I threw it up here. Quentin Johnston. Everybody knows I'm a QJ guy. I had him as wide receiver 1 coming out. So, yeah, it took till week 1 of year 3 to like really show out and people like be interested in QJ. Like QJ was not a guy you could trade for really anything 2 weeks ago. So if you were holding on to QJ in hopes that something like week 1 happens, well, week 1 did happen. So if you're really not believing in QJ moving forward, I think he has enough of a value bump here that you could try to move off him or roll the dice and wait for a couple more weeks and hope it happens again. I will say that I'm not a huge film guy, but the way that he was used week 1 this week was unlike he has been used in the previous 2 years, especially slot usage. So I don't know if this is a sign of things to come, but it was really nice to see. And with that said, I believe that if you're trying to move off QJ, this gives you an off ramp.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really solid read. One of the most interesting things about them bringing in Keenan Allen and also having Ladd last year is that they've brought in technically like more slot competition, which I think has made QJ's role in the slot even more valuable because it allows for the rest of the wide receiver room to move a little bit more fluidly around, which I think has made the offense also a little bit more challenging to actually understand and diagnose defensively going into the play. So all in all, a lot of people harp and hate on Greg Roman, but I do think that the way that he managed and used QJ in week 1 was exactly what you should want as a Chargers fan. That being said, I think you're 100% correct that this is a good sell window coming off of that massive game. But I also did want to shout out, let's not forget about week 18 last year where he had 13 receptions for almost 200 yards as well. So this, they're not consecutive games by all means, but they are 2 back-to-back games where Greg Roman is showing a lot more faith in QJ. So I'm not one to seek trends, but this could be a potential window where we really do just see more uptick in usage. It's just not something that I think is sustainable for him. And probably a more likely reality would be to get off for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all crushed that. I don't really have many notes, if any at all. Yeah, I think you guys covered it really well.
Cool. Next one I think comes from the Discord, but yeah, Javonte Williams, Dallas Cowboys RB1 for now. He didn't look too bad. He didn't look like pre-injury Javonte, but I think eventually once, I know it's a long shot based on like draft capital and all that, but like Jaden Blue, I think it's going to happen. Miles Sanders, honestly, I would have cut his ass already, but for fumbling, but he doesn't fumble, we win the game. But
hard ass coach.
Yeah. Well,
Aaron Glenn.
Well, and he had that 40-yard run where he got tackled. Jaden Blue doesn't get tackled, so I think that Javonte is not going to be RB1 every week for the Dallas Cowboys for the whole entire season. So if you could get off of him this week, he's probably got another week next week to go against the Giants. No offense, but I think that
no, you're right.
I think he probably has a chance to get a good showing. Definitely will get the bulk of the carries, and I think that will be a really good off ramp for Javonte.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct, and I do think that you're right. The Giants' rush defense was supposed to be bad going into the year, and it's unsurprising that it still is bad. We really did see kind of the most out of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt against them, and I thought that was pretty disconcerting, just considering that he didn't really have that big of a role, and the few touches that he did have, he basically made the most out of them. That being said, I agree. Javonte just does not look like a fantasy asset that I want any of. I have currently 1 share, but I do think that this is going to be the big week for him. Even though week 1 was big, I think he's changed. He's had probably 2 weeks in a row with two touchdowns or more. Like, he hasn't done that in 53 games with the Broncos bullshit. Like, that type of statistic that like was floating around. It's like he had 1 game with 2 touchdowns in Denver out of 54 games, and he did it in the first game for Dallas. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. But did you watch the game? Like, Dak was definitely driving the ball incredibly well, and I suspect him to do that against the Giants again. I will shout out, we didn't talk about it in the week 1 thoughts to mention out of the gate. I shouted out CeeDee Lamb for being a little off the pace, but I did think that Dak Prescott looked absolutely lights out. Honestly, he was
very, very much so.
The legs are definitely maybe a little less athletic than they used to be, but I think that's age and injury, unfortunately, just catching up to him. But man, those anticipatory throws, just threading some of the spaces that he was able to thread, being able to pace passes once again at a level that just looks immaculate. Like, if you're in a league where there's someone who has Dak and they don't know what to do with him, that would be one of those QBs that I'd be looking to target right now, because I do think that his week 1 performance wasn't probably the fantasy output that a lot of people were expecting. I know this is post week 1 sells, but he would be a post week 1 buy for me. Anyway. I'm so bad. I'm always so bad. I always fucking ruin these segments. But yes, Javonte, yes, sell. after week 2, actually, that's
Yeah.
gonna be my input.
Yeah, so neither of the guys Jake was talking about are a week 1 sell or a week 1 or part of the segment. I think it's perfect. Oh my goodness, but I do agree.
Adjacent.
Yeah, adjacent. But I do agree that Javonte is probably going to smash again, because all he needs to do is fall into the end zone like he did this past week. Doesn't take much. He's just not very explosive, and I don't really see that being a long-term factor. So yeah, I would definitely, you can hold on 1 week, but if anybody is, I don't know, man, if somebody's sending me a couple seconds or something, I might just be like, all right, I'll get out of here. Like, yeah, maybe you could possibly push it to a first if somebody's crazy and he has like another 20-point game. It's possible for sure, but I think you're probably going to get around 2 seconds anyway. So, or a package like that. So if somebody's sending me something like that, I'll probably just take it and run. But also totally agree on Dak. He looked absolutely lights out.
QB1, buddy. QB1. Let me look at this real quick.
I want someone to love me and look at me.
He's just looking up Dak highlights. That's all he was doing.
Exactly.
Dude, I'm saying, we talked about in the offseason that he was fairly undervalued, like QB 21 or some shit. Like, so, no, he's good. He's always been. Yeah, the next one, Flowers. Obviously, he had a really big game, but I don't know if I see. Me personally, I don't know if I see him as a sell, unless I just don't believe into it. But like, the dude's a good player. Like, he's a really good player on a really good offense. Like, that's what I was trying to look at. What do you got? 9 targets. I don't know if he'll get 9 targets every week. I understand that, but he is a problem every time he gets the ball. I guess if you want to go out there and see what you get for him, but I'm perfectly happy holding on to Zay Flowers, personally.
Yeah, no, I think that's a completely valid read. I think my issue with Zay is that he's just
you don't like him.
No. I'm a huge fan of his tape. I think that he is a cancer for lineup setting. Like, I just think he's the antithesis to what I want out of any of my wide receivers that I'm setting at probably wide receiver 3 or later, knowing that his highs and ceiling outcomes are great, but his lows are absolutely atrocious. And that's just how this offense works. I can't go in week to week and find myself understanding who I want to start in their offense outside of Lamar and outside of Derrick Henry. That's about it. Everybody else is completely up in the air. And you could tell me that maybe it's a little bit matchup dependent, maybe, but I think at the end of the day, they do an incredible job finding holes within the defense and then just attacking them over and over and over again. And that's what Zay was. I think he was a hole in the defense, and they attacked the living shit out of it throughout the entire game. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, the dude sitting here right now as wide receiver 1, I know it's just a week 1 performance, but I do think that does show to people as significant value. I just don't foresee him having another wide receiver 1 week like that for a good bit. And I would rather sell off the high and get into a more consistent wide receiver, or even get into draft capital that I think will be a little bit more fluid than Zay will be in a couple of weeks' time, when it might not be as consistent as it is now.
Yeah, I think that last part is it, honestly. I definitely hesitate to just sell him outright, like, for anything, because I do think that he has quite a bit of value. I don't think that he's going to hit, like this every week, but he has some pretty good matchups this year, and they're going to need him. But there's 2 things that can happen. We've already seen him get injured before, and there's also the inconsistency that can pop up, right? Which is what you're more concerned about. But if that does happen, the value that he's gained right now goes away completely back to what it was this offseason, which was really hard to move, to be honest with you. And you couldn't get a first for him, really. So if you're a team that's kind of fringe, I would definitely think about moving on from him right now. And that's something that I should probably do with one of the shares I have in the DU League. So if anybody is interested in Zay Flowers, maybe we can have a conversation, and we'll see there. But yeah, I would consider your options right now with Zay, see if you can get a first plus. And that's, probably a good move if you're not contending or just really, a big fan of Zay Flowers.
Cool. Last one we got here, Keon Coleman, obviously, for having a really, really good week. Week 1. It's funny, maybe game script is why Keon Coleman and Zay Flowers they were going up against each other. 80 plus points combined between the two teams. That might have a lot to do with their fantasy output there too. I don't believe that they're always going to be playing in 80-point combined NFL scores. But yeah, Keon Coleman. I think this is good for if you were somebody who ended up with the Keon Coleman share and you don't really believe in him, you could probably get off of him. Yeah, and I don't know. I think me personally, I don't think I have any Keon Coleman, but if I did, I think I'd be holding. But that's just me.
Interesting. Yeah, I think given all of the vibes around Keon going into week 1, just preseason's going great. He looks awesome. He's dominating the Bills camp. He's dominating some of their 1v1s against other teams. He's just super, super dominant. And then he puts out the performance that he did. And when I say puts out the performance, I mean statistical performance. I think when you actually watch the tape itself, it's actually a really, really great play calling by Joe Brady. He does a lot of basically just ins and also curls to best understand kind of what they did with him last year, which was run in a straight line and go up for contested catches. And the truth is that I didn't think that he actually created all that much separation. I didn't think that his route running was particularly crisp. I didn't think that he was doing anything different than what I saw from him last year. I did think that it was more of circumstance than anything else. What I will give him is that he is relatively good at contested catches. Like, I do think that his hands are decent. I think that he can handle tighter space as well. I just don't think that he's a capable enough route runner to have this be successful. And I do think, to Uriah's point, he was definitely one of the few people that were properly taking advantage of the fact that his team was trailing by 20 points or 17 points at one point in that game, which ends up driving unique circumstances. Let's not forget that his touchdown reception was off of a Dawson Knox like basketball-esque assist where he's or almost like volleyball where he's like going backwards and like tip drills it to the back of the end zone and he makes a diving catch. It's like it's a really great catch. He shows awesome athleticism, but it has nothing to do with him. Like it has nothing to do with the actual pre-pass work that he was doing. So I like the guy. He seems like an awesome dude. I just have never really liked the profile, and this would be a great time to get off him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he created a ton of separation. I also don't think he was making contested catches really either that often this week. Like he just had space, and that was obviously Jake, referencing they definitely schemed him up pretty well, or just it wasn't scheming him up. It was just the scheme was good, and he had some room to work. I do think his route running was a little bit more crisp than last year, in my opinion. Like some of the, where he's digging down and he's throttling down for those curl routes and stuff. I thought they were actually pretty crisp there, but again, it's nothing to write home about. I would be selling. I'd be looking for a first plus. I just think that it more so to me, I think it's just going to be super inconsistent on his team every week, like it always is, like every year. So there's just nobody on this team I think you can trust week to week. If anybody, I'd be, still into Khalil Shakir more than Keon Coleman, to be honest.
Cool. That's a little bit of mostly post week 1 sells, maybe some buys and some holds, but some good discussion. So let's talk about Justin Herbert, right? Everybody's new favorite quarterback. Very happy for him because he's a stud. He throws piss missiles. We know this. But he hasn't really been on an offense that it seems like has been as competent looking as the one that we saw last week. It just looked a little different. That's all I'm saying. I'm not an expert here, but it looked different. He looked confident. I think it has a lot to do with his head coach slobbing his knob so much and building confidence, which, I mean, you need that, right? You can't be out there with the guy and you're like wondering, does this guy approve of me? Like you have like full approval, right? Like, dad's proud of you. Like go out there and do it. Like, and he did. So I guess there's some questions here about he's scrambling more than he has before. I mean, we saw that last year. a little bit. I think he ended up getting hurt, or at least banged up. And yeah, just thoughts on the Chargers offense. Like, I think it's just something that we should be excited about. And eventually, a lot of people like to say, the running game sets up the pass, but I'm a firm believer it's kind of the opposite. If you're able to like really work the passing game, that has to open up the running game. So I do think that we'll see more usage out of the running backs going forward than we did this last week. But I also think that maybe they feel like they found something here. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think historically speaking, Herbert sits in a really weird bucket where we've seen him be able to use his legs in the past, but I think unfortunately due to injury, it's kind of hiccuped or prevented us from continuing to see that. I think there was a really, really early season injury last year.
Yes.
That was compounding off of an early season injury the year before that. And when you think about kind of the full circle narrative around him as a quarterback, people don't really think about his mobility. I think it's kind of the same as what we hear with like CJ Stroud. It's like, they don't get 7 or 8 carries in a game for 70 yards, so they're not a mobile or running quarterback. I think the reality is both of those guys are incredibly mobile when they need to be. And I think seeing Greg Roman start to call plays in a space where it allows for Herbert to take advantage of deeper line coverage or linebackers bouncing off of the offensive line and using that space to then attack has been really intelligent, especially in week 1. So for me, like, it really is going to be one of those things where being able to control kind of the pendulum and allowing it to swing back and forth, I think is going to be the best thing that the Chargers can do. So I don't think it'll be quote unquote like a status quo where we'll see Herbert have 7 or 8 carries in every single week. But I think being able to open that opportunity up is the same thing that, the Commanders or the Ravens or the Eagles try and do with their quarterbacks. And having that opportunity and defenses having to play that, I think will only benefit the rest of the offense moving forward. So that's the way that I see it. What about you, Billy?
Yeah, I mean, Herbert looked awesome week 1, just in general. Looked really sharp as a passer too, but just want to hit on this Jacob Gibbs post from Twitter here. Herbert over his past 10 games, plus 2.6 scrambles per game, up 33%, and plus 3.4 fantasy points per game on scrambles, up 72%. And then just kind of digging into this thread here, you find a really good quote from Greg Roman I want to just hit on, which was, well, there's 2 things here. Herbert is an incredible offseason. He put on 20 pounds of good, lean muscle mass. He has no weakness in his game. Obviously, that's Jim Harbaugh. And got to go back. I mean, two great, I guess, quotes here from Uriah: piss missile and slob on my knob, or slob on his knob. Just two great lines from him. But also here from Greg Roman, I think we'll see Herbert use his legs a bit more this year. He can really affect the game with his legs. It creates so much stress on the defense when they have to defend that. That was off the table for most of last year because of injuries. We'll definitely have some QB-driven run game stuff available. How much of it we do will be dependent on what we need to win the game, and that was in June of this year. So both those quotes were in June of this year. So I think also Herbert, there's some quotes out there. Herbert wants to do some of this too. He think, they know that this is a really effective way to play the game, and they put the defense in really precarious positions when he does it. I think that it was really shown in week 1. And I think despite Greg Roman's want to run the ball, they have a rookie running back and a guy who's kind of a plotter, who's not going to be really explosive. I think they're realizing they need to put the ball in their star quarterback's hands, and it looks like that. And I'm hoping that it's a consistent trend. I mean, it does seem like it's becoming a trend if you go back to last year. So let's hope that's a continuation of that. I just think he's looked so good, and I don't think I'd be selling high off of Herbert unless I'm going like way up the ladder here to like a next tier of a QB maybe. But other than that, man, I kind of want to see what we have here over the first couple of weeks if he continues this kind of play. I think this might be the Justin Herbert breakout we've been waiting for.
Cool. Quick question: could you or would you would you be able to sell Burrow for Herbert plus?
I did that this offseason. I think that was one of my favorite trades that I made. I did Herbert plus a first for, I think, and plus like, I don't know, Brashard Smith or something like that, Jalen Royals for Burrow. And I like to this day I would still do it. Like I think that that's just kind of the best path of least resistance, and I think it's also it's a good way to kind of help fill out the rest of your team, which I think will potentially get you into a situation where Burrow might be able to outperform Herbert by like 2 to 3 points per week, but I don't think it's going to be that massive of a gap by the end of the season this year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can still do it, but that might be a thing where people are like, oh, I'm buying low on, buying low on Burrow after a bad week 1. And you're like, well, I'm kind of getting Herbert plus here. So what's the difference? Like, yeah, it might be something you can still get done, but you're probably going to have to, I mean, maybe you don't have to hurry, but yeah, I would do that. Just like Jake said, definitely something I would do. And I think you may be able to get more plus than even you got, Jake. What'd you say that was? Brashad Smith and what?
A first.
Jalen Royals? Oh, okay. No, that's perfect. That's exactly what you should have been doing. Okay, great. Okay. One comment here from Matt. So happy I traded away Tua for Herbert last year. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Great trade. Well done. Jesus, after week 1. Whew.
Is that what it was last year, week 1?
No. I meant after this week 1. I'm sure you're very thankful.
Yes, definitely.
Shit, that might have been with me.
Oh no.
I have a Tua share, and I'm trying to figure out where the hell I got it because I didn't draft him. Anyway.
Oh no.
All right.
Matt, good job, Matt.
Yeah. Next topic here. So, did you get your guy? This is actually pretty easy for me to kind of go through. So, what are some players you have zero exposure to and you wanted it on, but you were not able to get? And what are you going to do next? And how are you going to try to get them? Essentially.
That's a good description.
So, we could just talk about the guys you have here. So you have Royals. You guys were higher on Royals than me. I think he's fine, but I was not like somebody. I was never throwing away ADP to get him. Like I just never got him because I didn't really search him out. So, but you guys liked him more, so you guys can talk about it.
Yeah, I think he was one of those players who just went above kind of the range that I always was willing to draft him at, even with me liking his tape. I think it was one of those situations where, I don't know, I didn't expect the wide receiver room to be so desolate right now in Kansas City. I guess I could have. They seem to have the same bug as San Francisco when it comes to skill positions, just like everybody gets fucking injured, except for them. Knock on wood, but it seems like Mahomes is like the only one who can stray away from that. But yeah, I think I like Jalen Royals. I like his upside, but I think that there's too many talents there that can repeat what he does. It's unfortunate for him that he is injured right now because I think his best opportunity is when Rashee Rice is off the field. So if he can get on the fields within the first 6 weeks, I think he will show some of his value because I don't think that the team has anything else like him. But he is definitely someone that I've still sent out like fourths for over the past week or so just to try and get a share here or there. But that's just not going to do it, even though he's injured and not playing, which I think is completely reasonable. I'm not like poo-pooing other people for rejecting trades of mine. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Would you pay any higher for him?
I'd probably pay 2/4 for him. Yeah. Is that not higher than 1/4?
I'd probably pay 2 dust pennies for them. Here, take these things.
He went for a third. He hasn't played it down. He's been injured.
It's just funny.
What are you sending? A 29?
No,
a 29 third?
won't.
Is that what you're going to send?
No, I won't. I think that this is a part of this segment that's worth me mentioning. Like I'm not going to go after these guys if I have to buy them unless it's a throw in on a package I'm already comfortable with type thing. Like that's how I would want them to be acquired at this point, because like I would buy them for a fourth or 2/4. Yes, let me say that. But I don't think you're going to get them for that. And so outside of that, like I don't really want to be paying up for these guys is my point. You know what I mean? Because I missed out on this guy. Like do not be chasing, Puka over here or something like that, thinking you're about to go get that kind of guy and go sell thirds and stuff for these players. So that's just the PSA as a whole on this. But yeah, Royals is definitely a guy that I didn't get, who I did have probably graded much higher than most in like from the film grade perspective. And so, yeah, one of those that I don't know why. It's like got the landing spot, obviously didn't really get the draft capital, but it's like, what am I doing here? Like, just get your guy. And yeah, I'm a little frustrated I don't have more Royals. I think I have maybe one share somewhere, and that's a little disappointing across my like 16 or so leagues. Are you muted, Uriah, or am I tripping?
No, he's muted.
I'm
okay,
muted.
I thought I was like slow all of a sudden.
Oh, so the next guy, DJ Giddens, Jonathan Taylor's backup, basically. I wasn't like super high on him coming out, like, but I thought he was fine. But in the preseason, he actually looked really good. And I thought with the blowout that we saw with Colts and Miami
Dolphins.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought we'd see a lot of second half DJ Giddens. I was really hoping for that. Like, that was the only entertaining part of watching the second half of that game, was like, hey man, we'll get some Giddens here. We don't really need to be running out Jonathan Taylor, 6-year running back out there. But we really didn't. I think he had 25% snap share. Again, not a guy I'm trying to go out and get, but it's just one of those guys that like I kind of want to see something happen here.
They did give him 12
go
carries.
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say they did give him 12 carries.
12 carries.
It wasn't super efficient by all means, but he was also kind of playing with the bums. They all knew that he was going to be running the ball more often than not. I think Miami at that point was basically like, end us, please, for the love of God. So I think the Colts said, yeah, sure, we'll end you by letting the clock run out. That was basically what happened. What I will say with Giddens, though, is that his price is still pretty expensive, right? Like, you're talking about, he's going for Brenton Strange in half tight end premium. He's going for, some packages where his value still kind of has some pretty significant value. There is one out there where it's Troy Franklin for Giddens. I'd be happy to do that. There's another Giddens and Hunter, Jarquez Hunter for Keandre Lambert Smith. Like, I can pick and choose some of these, but for the most part, he just doesn't seem that acquirable just yet. So it might take a few weeks for, maybe the excitement in Indy to kind of wear off, and Daniel Jones will be Daniel Jones again, most likely. And then you'll be stuck in a situation where that probably could have been a good week one sell as well. I apologize for not adding Daniel Jones or also Justin Fields. But I do think
that's
that
a good
Giddens
one.
Is in a funky situation for sure.
Yeah,
to acquire.
I agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree. God damn, you make me want to jump on Fields there. Hold on, I'm gonna make a note so I can talk about Fields in a second. But Giddens, it's funny because where was he going? Like late third round rookie drafts? Yeah, and that's why I think I didn't get him. I think I just had other targets in that range of running backs, unfortunately. But it's funny because I did have probably a pretty decent grade on him too, and it just makes me wish that I could get in on more of these guys. But I think it was just a victim of circumstance at this point. And knowing that he obviously is a high priority handcuff and could be really good in the absence of Jonathan Taylor, but it's also like Jonathan Taylor. So it's like there's other options out there that could step into roles more quickly, and that's why I think I didn't have him. And at that current cost, which is a little outrageous, and it's been that way for a while. We talked about Giddens a couple weeks ago, and it was also like that. There's no way I'm going and buying these guys, which is more of a reason to get these guys in your draft if you like them at all, because this is the potential, and you don't want to have to be going and buying them like we're talking about here for, Brenton Strange or, late seconds, early third type stuff or whatever it is at that point. But yeah, Jake makes a great point on Fields. I just don't. I do want to mention that because I do think that he is a sell. Like, he did look a little bit better though. We have to say that he did look like he is improving, but you still see the issues there, and you can just see that they're gonna pop up as the season goes along, and they just don't have enough to cover for him. I don't think in the weaponry there. Really exciting game. Really exciting. I think pairing, good chemistry. You can tell he has with Garrett Wilson for sure. But I don't think it's going to be consistent over time. And the two rushing touchdowns boosted him up quite a bit. I don't think that's going to be consistent either, though. He's he will get some rushing touchdowns to Justin Fields.
Yeah, shout out Justin Fields and Josh Allen. I have them both on one team in a Superflex league and destroyed my league. Destroyed them. The next highest score was like 50 points less than me. So shout out Dan Morrison, his Dynasty league. He knows what's up.
Oh, shout! Hell yeah, Dan!
Shout out.
I will say though, the decision making I saw from Justin Fields was different than I've seen before. On some of the passes that he made, where he's scrambling in the backfield and he's running, but he's like half a yard before the scrimmage line, and he's making a throw. Yeah. And he did that a lot during that game. So
he did. We'll see. There's some encouraging things. His eyes were downfield for sure while he was running around. So it was
unlike Russell Wilson.
Better. Yeah. But also it was such a good game that you could probably get out for, like, people like Justin Fields and they like the Konami code QB. So I think that you could get out for a pretty, like, in your league where you have Josh Allen, I certainly would be going and seeing if I could like go get another quarterback plus or something like that. Just to save myself from the potential downfall of Justin Fields. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, but what's in the box? Okay. Next one, Devin Neal. Again, a guy that, I mean, I don't even like him as much as I like Giddens. So what I did like was his potential behind an aging running back in the landing spot there. If that offense could do something with Kellen Moore, not necessarily all the other pieces there, like that's kind of like one of those offenses. It's like, well, I like Olave, I like Shaheed, I like Kamara, and like you just kind of want something to happen there. Kendra Miller looked okay once he finally got off IR that he's been on for 6 years because Sean Payton
6 years stint on IR.
Always injured, but 100% healthy. Yeah,
Dennis Allen that hated him.
Oh, Dennis Allen, my bad. Yeah, fuck that guy. But yeah, Devin Neal. I don't have any Royals. Just to get this out of the way, I don't have any Royals. I don't have any Giddens. I don't have any Neal. I don't have any Horton or Mason Taylor because throughout all my drafts, I got all the guys I wanted. I got one of everything for the most part. Except for the last guy we'll talk about is one that I kind of wish I had got in on.
Yeah.
With all that said, what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, no, I think that's all pretty spot on. The situation in New Orleans seemed right for the picking, but it's also one of those situations where it's like he still needs to outperform some other really bad running backs to get on the fields. And I just don't know if it's there yet. But he did get about 10% snap share in week 1. Got a couple of carries, didn't look terrible. And I think Kendra Miller is pretty shit, to be completely honest. I'm right there with Dennis Allen, who I don't particularly like. So I don't want to be a Dennis Allen
company
apologist.
With Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I don't want to be a Dennis Allen apologist. I want to just say that now. But I am like thinking that there is definitely a path forward for Devin Neal to actually really cut into some of the work here. I just don't.
Possible, yeah.
I don't see Alvin Kamara having probably as productive a season as you'd probably want either. As a fantasy owner, there's just something about this offense that I don't think is going to be super effective from the running game. So I don't know. There's something there. It was also really sad for Kamara. The number of checkdowns from Spencer Rattler was really, really far down. Probably a Kellen Moore thing, but not great. I think that takes away a lot of his value and something to just be very, very mindful of. I think he finished the game with, what was it, like 4 targets or something like that? 5 targets. No, sorry, 2 targets, which is crazy. It's crazy. That is not Alvin Kamara like I know him.
Yeah, like it was like 9 target, 10 target games.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not my man. But in all seriousness, I do think that Devin Neal was one of those guys who I think I had like 1 share and I ended up selling him for, I think I drafted him for a 4th and I sold him already for a 3rd type thing, and I'll probably not get back into him, which is fine.
That's amazing if you could do that. Yeah. I don't think they're going to run the ball enough this year either, like for them to get enough carries. Now, Kendra Miller could easily get injured and Devin Neal could find his way into work either way. So if you want to buy Devin Neal now and hope he gains the value and resell for a 3rd like Jake did, I think there's a path for that as well. End of season, I could totally see them kind of like seeing what they have, and there's definitely both those guys in front of him could get easily injured. So worthwhile investment. I didn't have any of him. Again, kind of what Uriah said though, which is like, we got a lot of our guys, so that's why the list is kind of low, because like there were a lot of guys that we did like in the range of these other players. Like these were like late 3rd, 4th round players where sometimes you were seeing Jarquez Hunter fall out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, what the hell? Like I'm grabbing that. Or Woody Marks was there, right? Or those kind of players, and they were just a little bit more interested in them, I think. So that's, at least for me, why this kind of guy fell by the wayside. The next one was almost inexcusable for me though, but lead us off here.
Next one, Torrey Horton, preseason darling up here in the Pacific Northwest. Which is, I mean, literally every single practice he was making a play, which was something. I mean, I think I already said that on this podcast, but like that was kind of said over and over by the coaching staff, by analysts, and all that other stuff. He had 54% snap share in week 1, 0 targets, 0 catches. But I do think the talent is there, and I think the opportunity is going to be there. So this might be one that, because of week 1 and what little he actually did, is probably going to stick with people more than the preseason hype. Like that's gone because he didn't do shit this week. So I think that's going to be in some managers' brains. This guy's probably picked up on waivers in most leagues, not drafted. So I think that if you are a believer in the talent, which I think maybe we kind of should be a little bit, he might be actually a target to get if you don't have any shares.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember at the end of our rookie profile process, Billy sent me over Torrey Horton's name, and I watched some of his tape, and I was just, I was lackluster about him. I wouldn't say that I was negative, but I just felt that he was pretty mid in all fairness. And then when he kind of fell in the draft, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like that aligns. And then the more and more I actually started watching his tape as there was a little bit of camp hype around him, I started to see where and how he would better impact this offense. More importantly, I think that's the biggest thing that I see out of Torrey Horton is that he has a unique need, or he fills a unique need, that's probably better stated, for the Seattle offense. The other thing I will state is that, once again, I don't know if anyone else watched Cooper Kupp's tape, but the dude just
I did not.
Right. The dude, like,
really?
I highly recommend spending 15, 20 minutes on it.
Good.
It's
he
is what I think the kids say, cooked. There's something just is not moving properly in his lower half. He's not creating the same separation. And I just think that means that Horton will probably be on the field more. It's not because I think that Horton and Kupp play a similar role. I just think that JSN is so malleable that he can play kind of anywhere. He really is. I think he's that fucking good. Watch his tape this past week. He was exceptional, minus his fumble loss, but hey, whatever, that shit happens. But seriously, I do think that Torrey Horton is someone, to Uriah's point, he was on the field for over 50% of snaps, like he stated. Like, yeah, he didn't get targeted. Sucks. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that San Francisco knew exactly why he was on the field. Kind of similarly to what they were doing with Jake Bobo last year when he was on the field. But I think Horton is a significantly better wide receiver than Jake Bobo, not to shit on my namesake, but I think that's just kind of the reality at play. And I do think that Horton will continue to grow in his role. Billy?
Yeah. I mean, just reading so to start off here, I gave him, I would say, like between average and above average grade from a film perspective, but just reading a couple things here from it: versatile deep threat, displaying excellent ball skills and outstanding awareness, fairly refined route technique and limited tape, clearly room for improvement, good baseline to work with in terms of separation. Just those kind of things are what I was seeing on film that I like from him. And I think that's kind of actually what he was showing a little bit in preseason. The reason I think it's inexcusable that I don't have him on my team, or most of my teams, I should say, is because of that, what I just read, of my grade, and he hit fucking waivers. Like he hit waivers in most leagues and I still didn't just pick the motherfucker up. Like, what am I doing? Like, what are we doing here? It's like you like a guy and you just let him slip to everybody else. And Jake probably got most of those shares, to be honest, because because we had these conversations and whatnot, and it led to this, and eventually he's like, yeah, I'll just take some of this guy, and why am I not doing that? So it just drives me crazy. I feel like I got most of my guys, but the ones that hit waivers and I don't get, they hurt me the most, man. That really kills me when I'm just thinking back on it. So when those guys hit waivers and you have an affinity for them for some reason that's at least, backed by some reasonable analysis, I would make it a priority to at least get them on some of your teams. All right, Mr. Mute.
I do it out of respect, and then I forget about it. So,
I actually appreciate it. I do appreciate the.
There's like a quick key for that on the keyboard or something. I used a button on my mic. So anyway, Mason Taylor was another guy that just because of who's there as competition for catching passes, obviously that's enticing to have, right? You have Garrett Wilson there, and then nobody. And so like it was like a no-brainer.
Josh Reynolds.
Hey buddy.
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Limp.
I liked him one time.
So he was definitely a guy that like you would think over the course of whatever it is 8 or so dynasty leagues, like I would have snatched him up, but I bet he was going late 4th when we were drafting most of our teams, which is like 3 days after the draft. And I ended up, I think he's probably going in the same area where like my buddy Bill Crocky Merritt was going. So that's probably
Mason Taylor.
Yeah, or was he going in the 3rd later on? Like
no, he was going in the 2nd. Yeah, he was going mid-2nd. Yeah, he was going ahead of. He was basically tight end 3 in most rookie drafts after Warren and Loveland.
So I was skipping over him for some reason that I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot, but there was definitely somebody there that I preferred over Mason Taylor. And then after getting all my rookie drafts done and not having a single share of him, I'm like, damn, like I should have at least had one somewhere. But I'm sure there was a good reason for it.
Yeah, I think you, and this isn't me to put words in your mouth. I think you just liked Elijah Arroyo and Terrence Ferguson profiles better because I think you drafted both of them in and around that area. Like we'll call it like the 210 to 301 area. So not that I remember how you draft, but I remember how you draft.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really what it came down to, and which is completely valid. I think that's why we all have our own process, and I think that's also how these guys show up here, right? Like there's most of the dudes that we just talked about, Royals, Giddens, and Neal, we're all kind of hovering in the late 3rd range. And I think that there were other guys in the late 3rd that we all wanted. Horton, here's a who. Yeah, clearly he is a late 4th to free agent waiver guy. I think that is also very much a reality. That's why he kind of slipped by the wayside. And yeah, to Billy's point, I did pick him up on waivers quite a bit. Just because, if Billy says something positive about anyone, including myself, it sticks.
He just wants to ruin it for me. That's what happens. He's like, oh, really? I'm just going to take it from him. Yeah.
But yeah, by all means, this game is all fun. You guys do a ton of work. I listened to Uriah about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I picked up 50%. Like, I'm all for it. Like, you guys are putting in the work. I trust you for the work that you're doing. Just because I don't see those same things doesn't mean I'm going to just like turn a blind eye to it. I think that's what makes the work that we do here so beneficial, is that I think we all get to different places, have some of the guys that we do have vindication on. We're not going to hit on all of them. No shit. Like it's impossible, but something part of our process has allowed us to find some of the hidden gems. And I do think that we can keep doing that and keep helping each other. The only thing I'll continue to add with Mason Taylor is that I actually did draft him at ADP. And unfortunately, I had a couple of offers in the offseason that got me off of Mason Taylor. Like I drafted him in the mid-2nd. I traded him away for a 1st in one league. I think I traded him with a 3rd for a 1st. In another league, I got 3 seconds for him. Like I'm very much of the thought process. Like I do like my dudes. Mason Taylor was my tight end. Like, he was the guy that I really, really liked in this class. I thought came at a good value. I liked Colson Loveland. He was my tight end 1, but I didn't want to pay tight end 1 price. I liked Tyler Warren's situation, but I didn't love Tyler Warren's tape. So I wasn't willing to pay the same thing about the 110, 111. Mason Taylor, though, was sitting there in the mid-second, and I was like, damn, this is kind of palatable. We're talking about a tight end who has Garrett Wilson to compete with for targets. Like, Jeremy Ruckert isn't going to just randomly start to make an appearance as a viable tight end, even though he does have the Ohio State relationship with Justin Fields. I know that exists. I do. I'm fully aware of that. But I think Mason Taylor was put into a situation for him to succeed. Now, the only thing I'm going to add on top of this, not to beat a dead horse, is that Mason Taylor saw, I believe it was close to 90% snap share. His route participation was insanely high in that 90% snap share. And yeah, he had a relatively mild day from a performance perspective. I think it came out today that he was carrying a potential small injury as well. But I think the biggest thing that I see is that it's going to be a player who is going to continue to grow in this offense and will continue to take away opportunities from other players. And there aren't a lot of opportunities for other players to compete with, per se. So I think it's just basically him and Garrett Wilson that will be taking on the majority of the target share. And it sucks that I don't own him, but I think for what I was able to get from at the time, felt right in those specific builds. So I'm okay with it. What about you, Billy?
Yeah, mid-second to a first for sure. And when you go back and you look at the mid-second round of this rookie draft, he's really one of the players you'd want the most at this point. You know, people were probably selecting Jack Betch ahead of him, those kind of players, and those may work out. That's not the point. I just think that you stare down the barrel and look back and you're like, yeah, he's probably the best pick given draft capital, given opportunity, given everything. And I agree with Jake. I mean, the opportunity is there and he's running all the routes and he's
Trey Harris.
Trey Harris. Yeah. All those kind of players for sure. Yeah. Where's he? Holy crap. Nowhere to be found.
Sorry, you're right. I had to.
Yard per route run king.
I love how Jeremy Rucker got a mention. Phenomenal blocker, by the way. Dude keeps himself on the field all the time. Just for that.
Yeah,
he does because he's on the field all the fucking time because he's a good blocker. That's why he just runs into a couple of those receptions. It's unfortunate he couldn't improve that and become more well-rounded because I do think he actually is pretty athletic too. But I do want to say about JCM, I think this is hilarious. Dan pointed this out to me or maybe us a couple months ago, but for those who don't know, we've mentioned it on the pod many times. We're in a Dynasty league called Console Wars. There are 36 teams. There are three copies of each player. You can only own one copy of each player. But the point I'm saying, the reason I'm saying that is because Dan went to look to see who rosters JCM, Bill. And it was all three of us. Nobody else. It was all three of us. And so I just thought that was hilarious because to Jake's point here, neither Jake or I were JCM fans. It was really only Uriah who was kind of bringing it up like, hey, I'm in on this guy. We should be in on this guy. And he certainly was correct. And we followed his lead because we were like, yeah, there's clearly something here. And we did look into, we all did the evaluation, the analysis. And you're like, okay, yeah, I guess there's something here. And then this happens. And so it's just really interesting. And Jake is just absolutely right, man. We all put in a lot of work and we all listen to each other and it turns out really well. Shout out to the Dynasty historian, Jake.
Yes.
Last thing I did want to add before we jump into trades and non-trades. Mason Taylor's price on Dynasty Daddy's trade database is palatable if you want to start sending out offers. You're talking about 27 second. You're talking about Dalton Kincaid in a fourth. You're talking about Joe Flacco. No, that one's crazy. Romeo Dobbs in a second. Travis Etienne and Mason Taylor in a fourth. I think that there's a place here where you can really kind of mess around. Mason Taylor and Jaden Blue for Deontay Thornton is a weird one. Mason Taylor in a second for Travis Kelce. I think that's an interesting one. Mason Taylor.
All I heard was sell Donta Thornton. That's what I heard. Sell Donta Thornton. God.
I've been trying, man. But yeah, and then one that came out today, and I think this is also feeding off of the Harold Fannin hype, is Fannin for Taylor plus a third. So like if you can get into Taylor plus for Fannin, I loved Fannon's usage week 1. I think that is a lot to be happy about, but I would also be pretty happy about getting Taylor plus for Fannon right now. So yeah.
Also, I know you said Kincaid and or
Fourth.
Mason Taylor in a fourth, or Kincaid in a fourth. I think you could get Mason Taylor plus for Kincaid in a lot of situations. Just like you said with Fannon, I think you could get that deal done with a lot of managers.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of managers who really like Kincaid. Like there's a lot of people out there who really like Kincaid. And I would be very happy with Mason Taylor in a third or a second or something like that. Excuse me, goddamn, Jake. But yeah, all right, we can move on to the Dynasty trade. Sorry.
I was just thinking there real quick. I got a trade offer. I declined it, but there you go. Because it was Fannon. So Trey McBride and Fannon for JJ McCarthy and 26 first.
Oh, what's the tight end premium?
Just 1.5.
I wouldn't accept it, but that's an interesting opening offer. You're muted. Billy's muted. Sorry.
Yeah, I caught that. Yes. Your eyes like, wait, you've been talking to me this whole time. I'm muted. McBride and who?
Fannon for McCarthy in a first.
Yeah, man. Oh, I would counter back and see if I can add a little something on there. Maybe also add something you don't love, like on your side, to kind of whatever. But I would definitely add something on that other side and see if I can increase the value a little bit. But yeah, that's a good initial offer. Maybe counter back.
I think it's just an interesting offer. I think it's also really dependent on build. Like if you're competing right now, and
that too. Yeah.
No reason to get off of McBride. But if I was in like a full-fledged rebuild and this was a way for me to get a little bit younger and also start acquiring more quarterback talent in a super flex format, myself going down that path at only half tight end premium, I don't think Fannon carries that much value, but McBride clearly does. So yeah.
I already declined it, but it's just curious. Weary of trading for JJ McCarthy at this point, but we'll see. Cool.
That's fair too. I mean, I was kind of thinking that a little bit.
I mean,
that's a fair point. Like
he could be anything.
I want to see a little
week 1
bit more
CJ
from
Stroud,
JJ.
or
You know what I mean?
CJ
Just
Stroud.
be a little cautious there. Yeah.
He could be year 1 Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I would have liked a more veteran quarterback, and I might have pulled the trigger.
That's reasonable.
All right. So trades and non-trades. Hey, I'm here long enough to do trades tonight. That's awesome.
That means we moved.
All right. Dynasty Underdog 1. OG Dynasty Underdog Listener League. We have Caleb Williams, who was God for a quarter or two Monday night, and then not so much the rest of the game. So we'll see. Which was the opposite of JJ McCarthy. What a whirlwind that game was. Caleb Williams plus some fab for a 28 first, a 28 third. Why? That's not enough to get on Caleb Williams at all. Not even close.
Crazy.
Not even close. Unless you just really, really hate the fingernail polish. I don't know. Like that just seems like you could get a whole lot more. Even after he crumbled the second half of that game and lost the game there for the Bears, and his rookie season wasn't all that great. Like it's just Ben Johnson, all that. Everything there, you can't just go ahead and trade Caleb Williams away after week 1. I think that's ridiculous.
So can I make it worse for you? Can I make this trade?
I don't know if you can.
I can't. Oh, I can. I can.
Okay. Oh, he
All right,
can.
Let's make this trade worse. So the individual who traded away Caleb Williams here traded away Josh Allen to me for Caleb Williams, a 27 first, which is projected to be early, and a 27 second, which is projected to be mid. So I just want to be completely clear here. We took the early first from that trade from Josh Allen, right? Like maybe the best quarterback asset in Superflex Dynasty right now, give or take one or two other quarterbacks. You take them and you break it down into a first and Caleb and a mid-second. And then you say to yourself, you know what? Fuck Caleb after week 1. I'm going to now sell that for a 28 first, a random 28 first that I'm going to project in my mind as early, and a 28 third. Like, what are we doing? Like two firsts that are 2027 and 2028, a third and a second for Josh Allen. Like, I just don't feel like that's how you break down Josh Allen.
Yeah, no, this was stunning to me. I could make it even worse, but I won't. But it's just, there was a lot of opportunity, I feel like, to to extract more value out of this. And obviously, I mean, the PSA here is just apply some patience. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about with week 1 and the quarterbacks. Like, you just got to be a little bit more patient and make sure you're extracting value. Like, there's no way Caleb's value by week 2 or 3 is going to go below 28 first. I really don't think so. And yes, also, I mean, the team that he got the 28 first from is probably going to have a high pick in the next year, maybe 2, but you can't guarantee that 3 years out, and a single first also really doesn't help you rebuild quick enough,
I'm just looking at it.
And so I just, like, my whole thing would be is not to panic sell like this off of such high value assets, and to Jake's point, which not everybody's doing that. Like, that's something we do have to consider. Not everybody's thinking about what they paid for the asset that they're selling. You know what I mean? But it's honestly one of the most essential things to do if more importantly, if there is an asset that you're worried about. Take a step back, understand what you like, especially if it's an asset you just recently got. Like, what did I pay for this? Okay, this is at least what I need to get out at, right? Like, that's what you need to think about, is like, I need to at least get out at like something like this cost. And it's like, man, there's just so much meat left on the bone here. It sucks for that manager. It sucks for others in the league too. And it's great for Josh, who is the one who, benefited from this trade, in my opinion, and got Caleb for a fairly cheap price. We could totally have egg on our face and maybe Caleb is just trash, but from what I saw in week 1, there was no reason to really panic like that. Like, you could be a little bit like, wow, man, I can't believe he broke down in the second half. Like, what the hell? He's got to get right. He can't be sailing passes across the middle. Like, totally get that. But there was also really good flashes, really, really solid flashes there. And he has, he's one game into this new offense and they didn't look that bad. So yeah, man, just the overreaction after week 1 can really burn you, and you just got to be really careful.
The last thing I just want to add, sorry, I know we're taking a really long time. You're right. I promise this will be really quick. The only thing I'll add is that if you're willing to get off of the elite asset in Josh Allen, get into an asset that you at least fucking like. Like, this just feels to me like you got into an asset that you thought the market was going to like because they were going to start the year off hot or whatever it is. And it's just the wrong read. You have to use some of your own due diligence, put that forth and add that to the value of the trade. Because this just feels like you put in an asset that you thought, oh, well, the rest of the market thinks Caleb's great, so I'm going to be able to get off Caleb on a high. And then you got scared shitless after 1 week. Like, that's just not how you get off of Josh Allen. That's it. I'm done. But this trade really bugged me as someone who got Josh Allen, because I do feel like I ended up getting the better side of that trade in hindsight. But it was just like, man, I'd be really upset with myself if I did that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm done. I promise.
All right. DU3. So here we go. Couple veteran running backs in Tony Pollard and Ramondre Stevenson. 4. It's kind of the same thing. 26 mid to late second and a 28 third plus Chris Brooks.
Who?
This is like so easily the Pollard Stevenson side, in my opinion.
Easy.
You could get out for
Absolutely
both of those guys,
easy.
I think, by mid-season for a second each. You know what I mean? Like, and more than that, you should be able to. But I'm just like, at the very baseline, I think you'll be like, together, you could probably do that at the end, mid-season mark.
To a contender, you could should probably be able to sell Pollard plus Stevenson as a package for a singular first to a contender.
Maybe.
Damn near.
Maybe, yeah, damn near for sure. That you should be able to sell them for more than this. And this was after the week, right? Because like Pollard didn't have like a terrible week or anything like that, did he? Or was
No,
it really
before.
Najee's on pup right
Oh, it was
now.
before. It was before.
It was
Okay.
before,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that's even
think
crazier. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I sent it on like the Wednesday or Thursday before game started, something along those lines.
Yeah, just
The
Pollard
the
with
only thing I'll
workhorse
add,
role. I don't know.
the only thing I'll add is some of the process here as well. So this was a build, and shout out Tommy Blair. This was a build where I felt like I had the depth on my team, and I had a lot of players on my bench that no longer had value. So I tried to extract value out of my bench players. So what I basically did was I took Wandell and I packaged him with a few different players across the league and sent him out to a bunch of different people for a second. One of the other managers reached back out and was like, "Hey, can you do Wandell plus Whittington for a second?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And so I then took that second and then basically turned it into Pollard. It just helped me kind of consolidate a little bit. And I turned what was realistically going to be two non-starters into a starter. And, for me, so much of the trading game is process oriented. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about like the value is great on this trade. Sure. Like, I don't really think that's that important. It's about being able to turn one trade almost like right after into another to make sure that the team is actually like better suited. Cause I realistically don't think I could have sold Wandell and Whittington for Pollard plus Stevenson or something like that. So, being able to kind of work around and maybe like lose a little bit of value here and gain a little bit of value there or whatever it might be is kind of the best way to get into the ways of kind of building your roster the way you want it to be.
Cool. Well done, Jake. Well done. And also Josh. So that was a fun episode. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about before we get out of here?
I'll just say goodbye. It's gonna be it's gonna be a while. I'm gonna be sad. I'll be gone for the next 3 weeks. I'll see you guys hopefully in early October. I think that second week. But yeah, I'm excited to listen to the shows while I'm probably riding on a train to some European city. So think about me while I think about you. And can't wait to listen to you guys absolutely smash it, and I'll miss you.
All right, bring home presents.
Probably will not do that.
Well, shout out, Jake. Definitely going to miss you. Maybe we will have a guest appearance, one or two of those episodes while you're gone. Going to be working on that. Other than that, catch us in the Discord. Link will be in the show description. And that's all I got before my internet fucks up again.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.